clap in 1, 2, 3. What's up, Lamer Gamers? This is Rowdy5000,
Simply Travis.
and we're here to talk about the PlayStation 5 reveal event. The ups, the downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly, or as I like to call it, the ridiculous amount of compression from YouTube's algorithm. We'll
Ugh.
discuss some of the games revealed, our thoughts and opinions about the games revealed, and talk about the interesting design choice.
Interesting's
This
one way
isn't.
you could say it.
Oh, yeah, man. This is not your father's pizza slice warmer. So, sit down, put on your safety belts, because this ride is about to get bumpy. Cue the music. All right.
So are you going to do the startup thing right up here? I,
Yeah, I'll do that too.
all right.
Right. Let me go ahead and hit record again here. Pull up the note. There's my notes. Okay. And clap in 1, 2, 3. Now, before we get started, if you like what we're doing, don't forget to press up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. Then, like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Also, check out @LamerGamersCast on Twitter and throw a review down on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser.
Nice.
So, did you know, Travis, that Sony wanted everybody to watch the show with headphones on?
I actually did, and I have some issues with that. I'll talk about in a second.
Well, everyone thought that it was going to be another like ASMR show, kind of like that last one they did with what's his name? I think Mark Cerny, the guy that was talking about a lot of the hardware. But thankfully, it was not because I hate ASMR.
It makes no sense that this. What? I can't do that. Anyway, it didn't make much
Ugh.
sense that it was going to be ASMR or have use of this 3D audio anyway, because it was mostly on YouTube, and YouTube doesn't do surround sound. It's mostly stereo.
And I didn't think about it until like 5 minutes ago, but we probably could have watched this on like Sony's website and gotten, a better video, better audio from it.
Yeah, because it was rough today. I felt like I was watching a GameCube FMV at
Yeah,
times. Yeah,
yeah.
kind of reminded me of Eternal
GameCube,
Darkness.
GameCube, Dreamcast, PS2 era. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely it.
Well, man,
Oh my god.
and the thing that kills me about it, man, we were waiting to see all these fancy games, what they look like, what the system looks like, and what did they start us with?
Oh my god. All right. So, the music was playing. They had this ridiculous graphic of all of the Sony buttons. Then, once everything started, there was a quick slideshow.
That was not quick, Rowdy. I almost fell asleep. I was thinking, oh, look, it's PS4 games for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was a little ridiculous. Like, I thought that it was going to be like a slideshow of games starting at PS4 and then going backwards to PS1. But no, man, it was just PS4 games. And then PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan pops up. By the way, not a fan of this guy.
Uh,
Never liked him.
why is that?
Something about him, man. Stupid face, stupid
His
voice.
stupid face.
He seems way more corporate. I mean, I understand they're all trying to make money,
Yeah.
but when Sean Layden was the face of Sony or the face of PlayStation, he seemed way more interested in everything. He was way better at presenting everything and not seeming like a corporate drone. But so he pops up and he's talking about how PlayStation is super excited to start with a game series that has been on all Sony consoles, beginning with the PlayStation 1. And you know what series that was? Grand Theft Auto. So, turns out GTA 5 is going to be on the PS5. Didn't see that
At
coming.
this point, who has not played this game?
Look, man, GTA 5 has been on every system since PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. I'm honestly surprised there's not a mobile version
I'm kind of
like for
expecting
phones.
Sony to do a documentary at this point. Today, we are traveling to the deep outskirts of a far off island just to find a tribe that have never seen civilization to play Grand Theft Auto 5. They're the last remaining people on Earth that have never played this game. Let's get it.
And those people have been playing Skyrim for years.
They have.
Man.
That was
So
awesome.
basically, you remember when we talked about how there was a rumor that GTA 6 was going to be a Sony exclusive? I'm
Yes.
wondering if this was what was told to people, or they said there was going to be some type of GTA exclusivity deal
Hmm.
for PS5, and this is that deal, not GTA 6.
This is a
Because,
weird deal, man.
well, apparently, if you own GTA 5 and you play GTA Online, which if you have GTA 5, you have GTA Online, you get $1 million of in-game currency per month till GTA comes to PS5. Snooze.
So my question
Next.
is this a way to keep people happy whenever the PlayStation 5 releases? Because the vast majority of those games shown today are in 2021. How many of them
Well,
were actually 2020?
a lot of them said holiday 2020, and I probably should have written down in the notes which one was 2020, which ones were 2021. Um,
I can give you some quick answers.
yeah,
It looks like Godfall is 2020, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a game they showed a while back, Gods and Monsters, um, Ghost of Tsushima. That's PS4 though, right?
yeah, that's PS4.
Yeah, that's about all that I see at this moment. Just doing a quick Google search. I'll see if I can find some more while you're leading us on this adventure of the Sony reveal.
Gotcha. All right, so from here on out, these aren't necessarily in order that they were shown um, in the presentation, but basically the order that they popped up as trailers on YouTube afterwards. And we saved the best for last. So I'm going to start with Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is going to be the sequel to the Marvel Spider-Man for from PlayStation 4. So the trailer starts. You have Peter Parker giving Miles Morales an inspirational talk about how it's his turn to be the hero. Um, in the Spider-Man game, obviously you play as Peter Parker, but you run into Miles Morales, who also becomes a Spider-Man because there's a few of them.
There's a lot. It's been a while since I've been into the comics, to be honest. And
Yeah,
there are
well,
various Spider-Man. Then there were clones.
yeah.
Yeah, there were
Well,
lots of Spider-Mans.
when you play as Peter Parker in the Spider-Man game on PS4, he's a little older. He's been Spider-Man for quite a while at this point. Well, you run into Miles Morales after his father is murdered. Um, so once you start to mentor Miles Morales, um, he's kind of in a low point in his life. He doesn't know what he's gonna do. Well, he gets bit by a spider. Lo and behold, he becomes another Spider-Man. Uh,
There was a story
so
recently about two boys that were put in the hospital. And I forgot which country it was in because they were trying to turn into Spider-Man.
I
Um,
saw that they let a spider bite him.
yeah, as a quick note, do not go get bitten by a spider to turn into Spider-Man. This has been a public service announcement from Simply Travis and the Lamer Gamers podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But basically, so there's no gameplay, but trailer looks absolutely amazing. It looks like some of the stuff that they shown will be kind of how it plays, maybe cinematic versions of how it plays, because a lot of the combat that was in that video looks like cinematic versions of combat from the last game. But it also showcases Miles using electricity powers, something that Peter Parker didn't inherit when he turned into Spider-Man. So now, if you play the last game, you'll know that Miles is eager to learn how to use his powers, but is still very unsure of himself. Um, he finds out that he's got these spider powers, and once Peter Parker finds out about it, it takes him under his wing or under his web.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a weird analogy. Under one of his 8 arms or legs.
Um, so he's constantly like, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna go jump off this building," and Peter Parker's like, "Hey, homie, like, step back. I mean, you need to learn how to use this stuff first. You can't go headfirst into this." Um, where was I in my notes? Let's see here. Blah blah blah. Eager to do so. Okay, so to me, this game is gonna start out unlike most sequels. So in this one, you play as a new character. So you don't feel cheated by playing as the same character from the previous game, but stripped of your powers. One of the few games from the reveal that I will pre-order as soon as it's available. And if you haven't played the first, quit being a dummy and play it. Now, back to what I was saying about playing as a new character and not being stripped of your powers. Um, God of War 2 and God of War 3 start pretty much. Well, okay, God of War 2, I want to say, starts where Kratos, the main character, already has all these powers, and you play the first level just as a god. Well, God of War. But then something happens, and you are completely stripped of your powers. And to me, that's always been kind of a cheap way to make a sequel. So it's going to be really cool playing as Miles and seeing his story. Um, Maybe you'll also play as Peter Parker. Who knows? We'll have to see.
No,
But yeah, I'm totally getting it.
I am seeing that it does say Spider-Man will be holiday 2020. So launch game
Nice.
possibly.
And I'm going to tell you right now, that is a system seller right there, man.
Give the gift of spiders this Christmas.
Dude,
and
so good.
bugs.
Bugs.
Bug Snacks is a 2020 game. We'll talk more about that one in a minute. Anyway, what's the next game on our list?
So Gran Turismo 7. I know you're a fan of the Forza series.
I'm a fan of driving around, running into things by accident, and looking at pretty scenery. I'm not necessarily a fan of playing the game.
Well, Gran Turismo and Forza have always been the rival games just because they've always been exclusive to said consoles. So like on this one, like the gameplay looks absolutely fantastic. If you're into racing sims, this looks like one of the most realistic sims I personally have ever seen. Like I said, it's very comparable to the Forza series. Both these companies, they put everything into these games, man, just because they always want to have the top racing sim out there. And the last Gran Turismo game that I played, it blew my mind because the right joystick actually controlled your head. So like, you're in first person mode. You see out the windshield, you push left on the right joystick, you start to turn your head and look out the left window.
I've seen a couple of racing games that do that too, I believe.
That blew my mind when I saw that, and I actually didn't like it.
VR would be fun.
Yes.
Except you'd probably throw up.
I was going to say, I would vomit.
Yeah.
But it would be awesome until then.
Now, to me, I honestly didn't think the graphics were necessarily groundbreaking. I did notice some chunky vegetation in the sides. I'm curious to see what the resolution of frames per second are, actually.
I don't know, man. I'm probably not going to pick it up.
I mean, it looks fantastic. I just didn't see anything that was like, this is so definitively different from the last Gran Turismo.
It's one of those that if it goes on sale, I'll pick it up, but it's definitely not a system seller or a day one buy for me.
Yeah, but I do know some people that would be like day one because Gran Turismo is life for them.
Man, well, let's talk to the Regen guys, see what they think about it.
That would be a fantastic thing to bring up with Dino, actually.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, good topic. We'll have to get a hold of him for that one.
So next on the list here, we didn't see much of this game, Project Athea, and that's just the working title for this. All I know is it's from Square Enix. all the footage shown was from a PS5 dev kit. It did not say if it was gameplay or cinematic. Looks great. Still have no idea what it's about. Um, the female protagonist is jumping all around, flying through the air, doing some crazy stuff. I thought that it might have been the same game that they were showing in the Unreal Engine trailer, but it definitely was not. And the one thing I do know about this game is it is made by Square Enix, so we're probably not going to see it for another 5 years.
Now there are some interesting vibes that kind of remind me of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with the volumetric clouds that are kind of in the background. I don't know if that's just because you're up high in certain areas, but
Reminds me of the volumetric clouds.
okay, so the reason why I'm mentioning this though is, I'm looking at the teaser trailer image for Project Athea, and there are trees, but then there are also clouds below the trees, and that's very unusual unless it's fog. So I'm wondering if it's a world kind of like that are covered in clouds. You can't go to a certain area of it. Like you said, the
Yeah,
graphics look fantastic, but at the same time, no gameplay just yet.
exactly. We're not going to see this game for a while, man.
Yeah.
Um, all right, man. Next, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Dude,
Dude, I like your notes in here. Just dude.
I like to use a lot of run-on words to show how excited I am about some of this stuff. Now, I haven't played much of the Ratchet and Clank series since like the beginning of PlayStation 3. Um, I've played a bit of the ones on PS4 because a lot of them went to PlayStation Plus. So I played a little of them here and there. But this one, dude, it looks absolutely phenomenal. But if you're not familiar with the series, it's a Sony exclusive from Insomniac Games, which is the same company that makes Spyro, Spider-Man, and Sunset Overdrive. And I just realized that all of those start with an S. Um,
Except for Ratchet and Clank.
it's a cartoony 3D platformer that follows Ratchet, a fictional animal called a Lombax, and his robotic sidekick Clank, who helps him out of seriously sticky situations. The trailer starts with Ratchet and Clank falling through some type of wormhole or a portal, a rift, into a new dimension. Don't know too much about the story right now, but it seems all the dimensions are breaking down, and it's up to these two to save the world. Again. Although the game is cartoony, it seriously looks like a next gen game. Uh, what in the heck did I try and type here?
Now, I will say,
Uh,
as far as just kind of my thoughts on it, real quick, I thought it looked fantastic. That was actually one of my favorite games to look at there. It's one of the few that really looked next gen to me.
mhm.
And I really dig how seamless moving from world to world is. That was a really good demonstration of what the new solid state drive is capable of. Because you could tell there was like a second and a half, 2 seconds of loading as he was falling through, and then the portal opens and the other world is there. That's the essential loading time, hidden very well. But it loaded a massive world extremely quick. Also, they used some fancy ray tracing on the robot.
Dude, I'm super excited about this, man.
Our honorary lamer gamer Skylar, she says Clank is my spirit animal. He's a snarky little turd ball, and I love him.
Nice. He was mentioned a lot in our Sidekick episode from a lot of the fans of the series. So this is definitely a lamer gamer's pick for the next PS5 or for the PS5. It's gonna be awesome, man. I'm into it. Let's see. The next one, Stray. Let me pull up my notes here real quick. Welp. Rest in peace, humans. This looks like a dystopian future where humans are all dead and robots live in squalor. The trailer has us following a cat with a backpack, transversing what looks like a rundown market area. Do you play as a robot or as a cat? Don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. Looks good. I like the lighting. Um, it looks like it's going to be a weird story. I don't know, man.
That one,
We'll see.
that's the one where you're just a cat, right?
Well, I mean, it followed the cat the whole time. I
Yeah.
mean, I would guess you play as the cat
I
from.
thought that one was pretty interesting looking as far as the art style with it. Um, I don't know. It's curious to be seen. It's one of the many trailers that featured cats
Yeah,
this time.
yeah. All right, next game. We have Returnal. Looks amazing. Looks like some type of like a space horror type game. Not 100% sure. It's also going to be a third-person shooter. Let's see. It takes place on a planet that the protagonist has crash landed on. The monologue leads me to believe that the main character is losing her sanity each time the planet kills her, and she wakes up only to try not to be killed again. I like to call this Groundhog's Day mechanics. And if you've ever heard me talk about games like this, I hate them. Hate them. I don't care how good this game looks, I'm out.
Oh man. That one to me, I did notice some things as far as the art style goes. My wife and I were talking about regarding its design of the, I guess the graphics for the background and the way it's advertised is very much like the movie Vertigo, and some of the other older movies that my brain just decided to shut off. Uh,
Yeah.
Anatomy of a Murder. So if you look at some of those, you can see that art style is really what they're kind of focusing on whenever they show the graphics on the game. But I'm in the same place as you, Rowdy. I don't want Groundhog's Day mechanics. I am tired of roguelikes in general, and that's what this is. It's a Bethesda roguelike. It's like Bethesda is taking
Is
all the
this what
things I
Bethesda?
hate. Yes.
God, they had a bunch of them on here then.
Yeah, they are taking all the things I hate and making their games into them. At least they didn't turn Skyrim into this or Fallout.
You want to take the next game?
All right, so that one is actually one
What
that
was
I.
that?
There's all sorts of wildness around me, guys. We have a new German Shepherd puppy named Athena, which is making all the noises. She's annoying the other German Shepherds, and she's just running in circles around me. She found the metal pan of food to jump into, apparently.
That's what it sounded like.
As we were talking about in chat, Skylar said, "It's a game about cats. No thanks, I'm a dog person. But sometimes, I don't know, cats are just as destructive." Also, she unplugged my laptop while we were recording, so that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. But Returnal, that one I didn't really follow too much either. So I'll let you talk about it based on your notes.
I already talked about
Oh,
Returnal.
I'm sorry. I'm at the wrong game. Okay. NBA 2K21. I'm sorry. I'm so distracted right now. Okay. So this game, NBA 2K21. Super groundbreaking things were shown. You can get like super ultra sweaty in this game. And that's about all we know. All right.
I'm out,
What's
man.
next?
F that game. All right, man. So, Destruction All Stars looks like a super colorful, possibly team-based destruction derby. Looks like you may try to not only hit other people's cars, but also hit people outside of their cars as well. Uh, Looks kind of cool. We'll see how it turns out. It's kind of got I guess I would call it like a Fortnite type art style.
A lot of people
Cart-
were thinking in a chat earlier that it was going to be Twisted Metal for some reason. You remember those games?
No. Oh, I do remember them,
Back
but
in the good old days.
I mean, it probably had like the Twisted Metal vibes, but this was way too cartoony and happy to be Twisted Metal.
Oh, yeah.
Looks pretty interesting. We'll have to see where that one goes. Next up, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. This is basically a 3D platformer version of Little Big Planet. And if you don't know what Little Big Planet is, it is an absolutely amazing Sony exclusive 2D platformer. It's all about customization and level building. Not sure if this one has a level builder, but there seems to be an emphasis on customizing your character, like all of the other ones. Also, looks like it's going to be 4 people can play at once. Probably going to get this one. Um,
So
it looks awesome. It's got a lot of the same art style as the last ones. Very cartoony looking. Everything's kind of cardboard. The Sack boys, the Sack characters, they all look very Yoshi's Yarn, no, Kirby Yarn, and Yoshi's Island type art style. Um, we'll see, man.
so to me, this one, I was sometimes you have games that are like specifically created to test a concept or graphical applications whenever you're developing a console or trying out something new. And this game to me appears to be the game that they're really focusing on textural effects on the PS5. I honestly thought a lot of the game was fairly low polygon count in general, because you would notice whenever things were at like a skewed angle, they would be very flat, but viewed up close, they looked like they had a lot of depth to them. Also, they were really, really wanting you to look at that furry mascot at the beginning. And I didn't really think that texture was that great, but this all could be wrong because the stream was garbage.
Your face's texture's not that great.
Oh, I know. And it's covered in beard hair. And I'm fairly low polygonal. So, but in general, though, I think a lot of it too can be the game is fairly zoomed out when you're playing. It looks
Very.
a lot like they were using a lot of similar lighting effects to Mario Odyssey, to where you see that kind of white outline on the edge of the characters. I think that's what it really looks to me, is like a souped up Mario Odyssey and Yoshi's Island mixed together. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I was just mostly looking at it for the graphics, to be honest. I don't have a lot invested in Sackboy, so yeah,
It's gonna be good, man.
I'll believe you, and I'll probably play it and enjoy
Yeah.
it over at your place. What is next? On
All
the
right,
list?
man. Oddworld Soulstorm. So this is
It's
the next
intense
entry in the
sounding.
Oddworld series. Do what?
That's intense sounding. Soulstorm.
Right? It's the next entry in the Oddworld series. Looks like you're going to be playing as Abe again in this title. Looks like it's probably 2D platformer. Didn't really show too much gameplay. Um, it's going to have some comedy aspects. It's a very dark comedy-esque type game. I'm not too into the series, but it's definitely a cult classic going back to at least, I want to say, the PlayStation 2 era, if not like PlayStation 1.
That is
Don't quote me on that.
definitely a cult classic. I really haven't messed around with an Oddworld game. I thought it looked pretty cool, though. What I was most impressed with, because once again, I'm looking a lot at the nerdy graphics of it. There's some really impressive lighting in this game. There's a technique that I'm going to say this sentence, and it's going to be, I don't think I've ever thought I would say this sentence, but there was some interesting light refraction going on in the ear tube of a character.
Some interesting light refraction.
If you look at Outer Worlds, and you ever notice when you were playing Outer Worlds, Rowdy, and their ears showed a little bit of red light coming through them as if they were semi-transparent?
I did not notice that.
You should have, because that's a thing that happened in it. But I noticed that was done very well in this game to kind of mimic the translucency of skin. So I'll have to start talking fancy whenever I get into this. But
Not once did I look at the Outer Worlds and go, look at them ears.
I did, because it was glaringly obvious, and they like put light behind certain areas just so you would notice it.
You got some pretty ears.
As somebody that draws people, it's something that I notice. So, all right, what's next? I guess we should walk on a bridge of spirits to this next game.
Because this next game is called Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. So, looks like Sony's high-res version of Pikmin. So, the protagonist of this game, the protagonist of this game, sorry, I've been up since 2:30 this morning. seems to control little spirits that help her progress through puzzles and help attack enemies. Not much is shown besides her instructing the little spirits. And some of the combat mechanics, like she has what looks like a bow and maybe some type of melee weapon. I didn't get too good of a look at it, but I hated Peakman,
Did you
so
now?
I'm sitting this one out.
I enjoyed Peakman. What's wrong with Peakman?
I hated it, man. I absolutely hated it. Having to go and instruct them to do everything, and they weren't the smartest things in the world. And then I always felt bad when they died.
Yeah, I could see that. They're really sad and their souls float up to the ethereal realm of Peakman death.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. It's
All
emotional.
right.
Like this next game.
Uh, dude, I don't even know what this is about. Goodbye, Volcano High. Like I said, man, no idea. The only thing that I took from this, these are my notes, looks like a teenage dinosaur high school drama. Seriously, no idea what it's about. That's all I could get from it.
That
It
sounds
had
pretty spot on, to be honest.
it had, and I put in air quotes, emotional music to emphasize the drama. Not interested in the story, not one bit. Not getting this game. Don't care. Sorry, I burped.
Yeah, all I put down for the for my notes were emotions.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it just maybe it's like what one of those interactive novels,
Hmm.
something like. No, I'm out, man.
I
I
do
can't do it.
enjoy an interactive novel game occasionally, just as like
Yeah,
a
dude.
chill after work type of game. That's okay for me sometimes.
But you're a teacher. Are you really going to want to play a
Hmm.
game about teenage dinosaurs having high school drama?
Probably not. I think my wife would be more
Exactly.
into that game because she does enjoy the I guess some of the dramas that are early adult, I guess, kind of dramas,
Yeah.
young adult dramas, whatever you'd call them. So she might be into it more than me. But yeah, you're right. I don't want to be a
Well, I
teenage
mean, I
dinosaur.
could under I can understand young adult dramas
She's just shaking
like
her
Hunger
head like, "What
Games.
the heck are y'all talking about?"
I can understand young adult dramas like Hunger Games and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
no, I'm out.
Maybe
All
if
right,
this was
next
more like
game.
the Hunger Games, like real Hunger Games, dinosaur Hunger Games. You
Oh
know,
my
you're
god,
just a dinosaur and you're dropped in with a bunch of other dinosaurs and you got to eat all the other dinosaurs.
that would actually be fun.
That would be kind of cool, actually.
All right, man. So next one, Ghostwire Tokyo. So
Ah.
this is the next game from Shinji Mikami. So Shinji Mikami has been a director, producer, creator. He's had his hands in a ton of Resident Evil games, and he's also worked on, directed, created the Evil Within series. Um, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I found on his Wikipedia page, but I wasn't going to put it all here.
Hmm.
Um, but this game, it looks. I mean, I don't know, wicked. I guess you could say like
Wicked. Sounds
it's a
very.
survival. It's a survival horror game, and Shinji Mikami is basically known for being, I guess you would say, the godfather of modern
Hmm.
survival horror, because there were survival horror games before Resident Evil, but he's the one that pretty much popularized what it is today. But this one, it looks like the enemies are going to be like ghosts or evil spirits. It takes place in Tokyo, so probably like yokai or something like that, like some evil demons. Um, Looks like there might be some parkour type movement, maybe. The combat looks like a lot of like fast, like what looks like physical attacks and magic to fight off the enemies. I think your character can kind of see bad omens and when things are going to happen. A lot of stuff that other people can't see. Um, but I don't know, man. Looks interesting. I'll have to see a little more before I make a decision on that one. But I am a Shinji Mikami fan, so we'll have to see, man. What do you think?
Honestly, I at first I thought that one was basically the Slender Man simulator, at first. Wasn't quite sure what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Um, Graphically, I thought it was fantastic. Some of the lighting effects on this game were actually really great. I was a little confused why there were no cast shadows though, but they're ghosts, right? Or
Yeah.
ethereal creatures. Isn't it
I mean,
Bethesda also? I don't know.
yes, it is a Bethesda ZeniMax game.
Bethesda's getting all wacky.
Well, some of these are just produced by Bethesda, not necessarily
Right,
made
right.
by. 'Cause there's another one we put on the list somewhere down here. I don't remember where it was, but it's produced by Bethesda, but not made by them.
Gotcha. But yeah, it
Let's
looked cool.
see. Next game, Jet: The Far Shore. Um, didn't really show too much about the game, but it looks like the protagonist is leaving a doomed planet to find a new home. This is that one where it showed it was first person of somebody walking out of what looked like a cave or a room. Um, and a lot of people were standing there watching this person walk towards, I guess, a spaceship, a rocket. They go into outer space. It looks like there's some type of space station up there, maybe. And then it starts where it says 0 years. And then it starts to zoom out, and the years start to increase till it gets to like 400, 500 some odd years. Then it starts showing, I don't know. I don't know if it's gameplay or not, but it starts showing almost like a 2D small spacecraft that is kind of skimming along the edge of a bunch of different planets. It looked like one of them had the bones of a giant snake-like looking monster, something like that in it. I didn't put all this in my notes.
So
I'm
in
winging this one.
I didn't really have notes, but my wife had something very specific to say about this game. She said it's not pretty like No Man's Sky. It looks pretty blocky and basic to me. Uh, so I basically said, "Well, I'm assuming it's an indie because
Oh yeah,
and it was definitely an indie." But
it's got those indie vibes, and it's got kind of it's got kind of the No Man's Sky type vibe to it.
she's then said, "Well, so was No Man's Sky, and it still looked pretty."
Yeah, but there was a lot wrong with that game when it first
There
came out.
was, as far as the game itself goes, but it was a very aesthetically pleasing game, and it had a lot of interesting design choices based on the planet you went to, even though they weren't really purposely programmed. Yeah.
Um,
So
was
what?
it No Man's Sky looked really good after. It plays really good now after they fixed everything, but it just got released way too early.
Now I will say there is No Man's Sky crossplay now. I'm pretty excited about that. That's something that came out this week, and I'm
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be
it
awesome.
out. I'm excited about that. I'm ready to get some people to go fly around to different planets and see what we can find. How many
All
planets can
right,
we name
man.
Lamer Gamers?
Dude, that'd be so awesome.
Let's do it.
Let's see here. Next on the list, Godfall. Gearbox is making it. Not excited. Basically, a looter slasher version of Borderlands, minus the comedy, no claptrap. Eh,
I thought the combat looked all right, but my notes specifically say smashy, slicey, boom, boom Gearbox game. Maybe it's an ARPG or just an action game. That's really all I got out of it.
we'll see, man.
Smashy, slicey game. Boom, boom.
Next game, Solar Ash, made by the creators of Hyperlight Drifter. Very colorful game. Honestly, thought it was going to be Hyperlight Drifter 2. Couldn't tell you what the game's about. Looks cool though. And when I clicked on the trailer for it on YouTube, I had to confirm that I was an adult. So possibly a
Oh.
mature rated game.
Yeah, I thought this one looked pretty cool. It's going to be 3D, which will be different than Hyperlight Drifter. Isn't a Hyperlight Drifter 2D?
Oh yeah, it's like
Yeah.
2D. Like, well, it's a bird's eye view type deal.
It's
So
got kind of
there's
that.
not
Uh-huh.
there's not really like platforming in it, but yeah, it's like 2D, like 3D movement on a 2D plane.
Kind of
Does
those
that make
chunky
sense?
colored pixelated graphics and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And that's going to kind of keep that vibe, except it looks like you can stick to ceilings and walls. You see the character at the end of the video hanging, like standing upside down, and then they jump onto the giant skeleton snake that's flying by.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So next, okay, I'm not gonna say the name. I'm gonna read my notes first.
Okay.
So at this point, Shuhei Yoshida came onto the screen. I don't know if you know who Shuhei Yoshida is, Travis, but he is a mainstay at PlayStation. He has been there for so much.
Forever.
This man, to me, is the face of PlayStation. Um, all around good dude. He's awesome on Twitter. He totally interacts with a lot of the fans that tag him and stuff. Uh, really cool dude. So basically, he came on screen and said he would like to announce a title that was near and dear to him. Dude, I got super excited, man. This could have been, a sequel from any number of Sony exclusives, seeing as Shu has been there for all of my favorite releases. Instead, we got a cinematic trailer for Demon Souls, which I assume is a remake. Not excited. You know how I feel about Soulsborne games. I'm out.
Yeah, I was
Out.
honestly right before this was the video for Bug Snacks. I was still reeling from that and didn't quite understand what was going on. So I don't really care. Uh,
All right,
I
next
see
game on the list.
Strutralista in the chat says you're a heretic. And this German Shepherd puppy that is barking in the background also believes you are heretic.
I mean that really is true. I am a heretic when it comes to Soulsborne games. I know that as much as I love video games, I should love at least one Soulsborne game, but I don't. I hate them all.
Yeah, I'd imagine after a 15-hour workday, you just want to sit down and play a game that will just murder your face if you miss a
Oh my
button
God.
press by a 15th of a second.
For a lot of those who don't know in the chat, I started a new job and they told me they're like, hey, so we're not gonna have as many hours for you for your first week. And I was like, okay, no biggie. It's gonna be fine. I'll just be training. Then I looked at my schedule and I had 62 hours for 1 week.
Good
Ugh.
times.
One of them was a 15-hour shift. One of them was at a plant that
man.
recently exploded.
I'm gonna let you
All
talk
right.
for a minute while everything explodes around me.
All right, let's see here. What's up next on the list? Let me pull up my notes.
Deathloop.
No. Resident Evil 8 Village. So Resident Evil's always been really weird with the way that they title everything. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I don't know if you noticed, but Resident Evil in Japan is actually called Biohazard. And in Japan, it was called Biohazard 7 Resident Evil. And in America, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. But they made the V, the I, and the L in Resident Evil look like the Roman numerals for 7. It's kind of dumb. Well, they did it again with Resident Evil 8 Village, where they took some of the letters in Village and made it look like the Roman numeral 8. So the trailer starts by saying, his story comes to a close. So, looks like this is going to be the end of Ethan Winters' story. Ethan was the protagonist in Resident Evil 7. And his story started in a fictional rural town in Louisiana where he is searching for his wife that has been missing for 2 years. Out of nowhere, he gets a message from his wife. I don't remember if it was like an email or a text message or what it was. Well, basically, after all is said and done, he lives, barely, and is now in the new Resident Evil. Don't know what's going on right now, but it does have some real Resident Evil 4 vibes. And long-running Resident Evil protagonist Chris Redfield shows up. I'm not gonna mention the last place he was. Screw it. You've had years to play Resident Evil 7. Chris Redfield shows up in Resident Evil 7, and he is a long-running protagonist. in this series. I mean, he's been there since Resident Evil 1. His sister was in Resident Evil 2. He's mentioned in Resident Evil 3. He was in Code Veronica, which was the fourth game, but it wasn't Resident Evil 4. He's been in a lot of them. Well, he shows up at the end of Resident Evil 7, and he is also in Resident Evil 8. But it looks like he may be the bad guy this time, or that's what the trailer wants us to believe. Also, not confirmed, just something that I noticed. One of the characters in the game looks like an older version of a character named Luis Serra from Resident Evil 4, which is weird because this game is really giving off Resident Evil 4 vibes. Now, Luis was killed in Resident Evil 4, but no one ever really dies in this series. So we'll see what happens. As weird as the story is, it looks like this one's more based in supernatural and folklore than in like man-made viruses, which again is another reason why it gives off Resident Evil 4 vibes. At one point, it looks like there is a werewolf, which has never really been in the Resident Evil series. I'm not gonna say it was actually a werewolf. It just looked like somebody was transforming and acted like a werewolf. I don't know. I'm pre-ordering it as soon as it's available. I'm getting that one. I love the Resident Evil series.
Do it.
Let's see. Next, Deathloop. More Groundhog's Day mechanics. I hate it. Not gonna play it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so okay. So the big thing with this game is break the loop. Rival assassins locked in a time loop. Shooty, shooty, bang, bang game. Okay, the graphics are very sleek. They're very interesting looking. There's a lot of chromatic aberration going on in the game. That's whenever like things break up into like reds and blues and stuff outside the characters. It's interesting. There's people with wolf masks anywhere, killers and stuff. It kind of looked like the punk band Masked Intruder was in there somewhere, but it's a roguelike. I don't see myself playing this kind of game at all.
Why not?
It just doesn't. I don't know. But like you said, the concept of having to replay over and over again from the same starting point. Now, does that mean like there's a hub world and you can essentially figure out a way to hop into this one section, or do you have to like try to make a split-second decision that will somehow open up something else? And am I going to be really frustrated if I die right before that? Because I'm pretty sure this game is going to be tough as nails, as most roguelikes and games that require a bunch of different variations do. I don't know, man. It's just not really clicking with me for some reason.
Yeah, I was just joking. I hate it. I'm not going to play it at all.
Now, the next game, this is one of the games that looks like a system seller for someone like me.
Dude, yeah. So, Little Devil Inside. Again, not really. I mean, there was probably some gameplay in there, but I think they didn't want to say the words gameplay.
I could see that.
But I mean, what I got from it is there's a little dude. He's fighting various monsters and creatures with various gadgets. I saw swords. I saw something that looked like what I thought was almost like a lasso, but then it exploded. I mean, it looks like he's got all kinds of weapons. But it looks like he may be trying to make his way to fight the old man that's also shown in the trailer, pooping.
Yeah, that was a little odd. There were some interesting scene cuts. That being said,
it shows the little guy dropping that bomb, and then like
yes.
as he's dropping the bomb, it zooms in on the old man pooping in the toilet.
Yeah, that
like,
was
what?
The game definitely has some quirky humor in it. As far as the stylization of this game, this is the one to me that looks the most next gen, but is also stylized to the artist without being like super realistic, really.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on. They created this, I guess, video game cut. Like you said, it looked like there was some gameplay. I don't know how much is just bullshot. And if you've listened to the show before, bullshot is whenever you are creating a gameplay video that simulates what the game is quote unquote supposed to look like, but is often better than what it ends up being. And it also relates to a word that sounds a lot like bullshot too whenever you do that. But that being said, it hit some notes that reminded me of like Zelda Breath of the Wild. It reminded me of good children book illustrations. There were some very interesting character designs in this. um, it's obviously going to be a fantastic story, just by the way they cut this, because to me the amount of quality they were able to put together for that really showed some things. Now, I was a little concerned because to me, I see all these characters. Is this a very driven journey? Or is it I go and wander and find these amazing, fantastical things in this grand world? And I'm leaning towards that because the few sections where it seems to show gameplay and them fighting enemies in a field, it's a very vast field. The large enemies are, of course, in smaller sections, but it appears that it's alluding to big open world that Travis will have a fun time living in.
You know what it kind of reminds me of is a cartoony version of The Witcher.
I don't know about that. I guess a little bit. It does have that kind of. It does look almost like fairy tale esque,
Yeah,
in a way. Maybe a little bit darker, but I don't. Yeah, you could be right. It looks good.
yeah.
I want to play this. Like this is, as you know, I don't. I've never owned a Sony system, but
Because you're dumb.
that game made me want to own it if it's going to be exclusive. Just
Yeah,
saying.
that was one thing about this presentation. They didn't really allude to any exclusives. I mean, we know which ones are 100% going to be exclusive, but yeah, some of the other ones that were like brand new, like they
Hmm.
didn't say if they were going to be exclusive or not.
Well, I'll be able to tell you in just a second because I'm looking this stuff up now. It
So the
is.
next
Mhm.
one, do it.
Go ahead.
The next one is definitely going to be an exclusive. Astro's Playroom. This is a niche game based off of Sony's AR bots. They were introduced in a game for PS4 that used the camera and the motion controller so that you could play with some AR robots in your living room. Probably along the same lines, albeit on a bigger scale. This will probably be included with the PS5 because the original AR Bots game was included with the PS4 for free.
Okay, so real quick, Little Devil Inside was a Kickstarter that is pretty old. Um, it
Really?
was actually going to be released on the Wii U at one point. This is from a Kickstarter in 2016.
Oh,
So there are some updates. This is created in South Korea, by the way. So their latest update on the Kickstarter is they're pleased to announce that Little Devil Inside will be coming to the PlayStation 5 system. The development support partnership became a reality after a long period of discussions. We thank everybody at SIE and all those involved for making this happen. With their full support and all the exciting features of the new PS5 system, we are even ever more confident in accomplishing and delivering what we set out to do. You can check out the latest trailer, blah, 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 blah. It is going to be coming to the PS5 on a timed exclusive basis and will be coming to the existing PS4, which in my mind means that it could be coming to the Xbox. And it also says this does not affect our plans to release for PC concurrently. So it's going to release on PC and PS5 simultaneously.
yeah, it's gonna come out for everything.
Yeah, so sorry, Sony, you almost had me. Now, there is a game that I think you're about to talk about
Man,
that
look, I'm
might
gonna
get me
try to
over
stick to
there.
my notes as best as possible, but this is one of my top 5 series of all time, and there's only one game in the series. Horizon Forbidden West. So obviously a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. The trailer opens up with a breathtaking tropical landscape. So you have Aloy the protagonist of the series, starts the narration, all about the old one. Obviously, a continuation of Horizon's story, where Aloy is trying to uncover more of the past. How 1,000 years prior, humanity was overrun by the machines they built and left them scattered to fend for themselves. It shows more landscapes ranging from wetlands to deserts to snow covered mountains. Um, let's see. So we're going to follow Aloy as she makes her way west to uncover more of the past. Shows new robotic animals and ends with giant robot elephants.
Yes.
So for real, in the first one, I'm going to try not to spoil anything, but basically, this is 1,000 or so years in the future. It it's probably not 100% 1,000 years, seeing as there's uh, no ways of keeping history at the time or keeping records of history because these a lot of these communities that these people lived in are very isolated from each other, and they're based on their landscape, like where they live, and the type of technology that's around them. Now I say technology; that's a loosely based term. It's basically the robot animals that they have destroyed and taken parts from. You'll see people that wear armor that was from scraps of these different robot animals that they've killed. Um, and you really got to watch out because like some of these robots are very aggressive, like their real life animal counterparts. You have to fight like some ridiculously huge alligator robots, all kind of stuff. Well, she's traversing all of this landscape, um, trying to find other communities, trying to uncover the history of basically what happened. So once she actually does uncover what had happened and why the robots took over, that's when it starts to get really interesting. And to me, would make the perfect movie. So basically, this is just a continuation of it. The first game, it doesn't necessarily say where it's taking place, but there is mentions of Denver, Colorado in the game. So my guess it would be, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, because I mean you run across deserts, snowy mountains, lush green areas, but nothing really tropical. So she's headed west in this one. So probably California, near the beaches, stuff like that. There's still also mountains and stuff that she runs into in the trailer. Uh, shows her using her bow and arrow, some of the weapons that they have in the game. It showed some of the characters from the last game carrying over into this one. It's basically, it's gonna be the best game for PlayStation 5. I'm I'm saying it now. My
Mark
favorite
Rowdy's
game for PlayStation
words.
5. Well, okay, it's gonna be my favorite PlayStation game or
No.
PlayStation 5 game.
So I got to say this.
Oh,
You can't have a good console release without some robot alligators. This is
that is
now a
true.
law. This is truth. It is an axiom that it will be proven true. Yes.
Let's see here. So I'm gonna skip on because I could talk about Horizon forever.
Now, I will say I am going to be playing the PC Horizon Zero Dawn, and I think that's going to help me decide because I am the person in this podcast that will be trying to figure out when I'm getting a PS5, if I'm getting a PS5. Because Rowdy's getting it the
Dude,
PS5 day one. I'm assuming,
I don't care.
correct?
I don't care what it costs. I'm getting it day one.
Oh, we'll be talking about the potential cost here in a little bit too.
Horizon Forbidden West. It's good. Oh, it's gonna be awesome. I want to watch the trailer again right now,
No, we
but I'm
got a
not.
podcast to run, Rowdy. Can't go and watch things. All right, what's next on the list?
Next we have Pragmata. Not sure. Um, I honestly thought it looked like a sequel to Death Stranding.
I did too.
Um,
I
because
got
there's this dude in this weird like armor, this weird get up, and there is a small child with him, which I thought might have been um, the BB from the first one, the bridge baby,
Mm-hmm.
started to grow up. But it is way too close to the release of Death Stranding for there to be a sequel already, unless they just worked on everything all at once. But I had no clue what was happening when this first started. Started on the ground and it ended on the moon. Uh, 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 Main character is still wearing all this armor. You never see their face or anything. Looks like some kind of crazy astronaut get up, but the little girl that's with him is standing on the moon with no helmet or anything and is breathing just fine. So basically, everything in between them, starting on the street and ending on the moon, just looked like a Hideo Kojima fever dream. So that's why I thought it was going to be a sequel to Death Stranding. But whatevs. We'll see what else they show. Um, I'm not that interested in it right now, though.
I'm curious, is it just going to be a fancy walking simulator? I mean,
I don't know, man.
because to me, it
Because
kind of it seemed like Death Stranding with Professor X's kid who can like manipulate anything he thinks.
Legion,
Yeah, so that's kind of what it
man.
read to as me. Like the little girl was making stuff happen.
A side note: if you've never watched the show Legion, it's based off of Legion, Professor X's son, and it's like it's very trippy, an adult rated uh, X Men show. It's pretty good, man. But now, the one you've all been waiting
Oh my
for, the one that
gosh.
Travis cannot wait to talk about, Bug Snacks.
Bug snacks.
Half bugs, half snacks. Welcome to the island of Bug Snacks. Dude, I'm in. Like, just when they said that, I'm in. So, this game, it just looks goofy as hell. Don't even know how it controls or what you do, but I do know you shouldn't carry a lantern with your weenie hands.
That's another
A,
PSA from the Lamer Gamers podcast.
a crazy looking walrus creature eats a strawberry bug, then its hand, turns into a couple of strawberries. What? The trailer ends with a snack monster attacking the camera. Another game that I will pre order as soon as it's available.
So, I I'm not necessarily going to explain my thoughts. I'm going to explain them in a way that is similar to the early 1920s surrealist movement called automatic writing. This is exactly what I wrote down as I was watching this mindlessness. Strawberry, strawberry, burr, burr, burr. What the hell is this? There is a talking walrus. He ate it. His arms are strawberries. Okay, this is an Octodad game. This makes sense. You are what you eat. What in the wild fever dream hallucination is this? Weenie hands! And then my wife chimed in. They could have done anything else in their life, but they chose to make this with it.
Dude, but I'm totally getting it.
It's the weirdest game. And I have to ask the question. We've been gaming for a long time. We've seen the wars between Nintendo and Sega, then eventually moved on to all three with Sony, all of them all fighting each other, right? Nintendo has been known as the kiddie console. If this was a game that was announced with the Switch or the Wii U, this would have been taken and used as the example that the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo system was a game for little babies. I find it hilarious. I've never been one to really agree with that concept that Nintendo games or Nintendo systems are for little kids. But that's how this reads to me. This game is very overly childish. It's bonkers. I think it's hilarious. It's bug snacks. That's what it is.
It's Viva Pinata on crack.
That's one way to put it, Rowdy. That is one way to put it.
All right. I hope I didn't miss any of the games. I did not take any notes while
I
watching it. I
think
just
that
wanted to
is
watch
it.
everything and take it all in first. Um, so hopefully that's all the games. But right now we're gonna take a quick break. Then we'll come back with the bonus points segment where we discuss the PS5 hardware and how does it compare to the Xbox Series X. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Break time. I
All right, break
apologize.
time.
There's so much noise in the background this episode.
No, it'll be fine,
Yeah.
man. I think people that listen to us know that.
Oh, they know by now.
Let's
There's
see.
talking, there's dogs barking. It's wild today.
Let me check the
Um,
chat here, make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, I'm caught up.
um, I think I'm going to have to figure out a way to get a quiet room in the future. Um,
Yeah, man. Don't we all want a quiet recording room?
yes, because this one has been surprisingly entertaining. Um, Thank you, Robin, for corralling said animals and wild things. Cody, by the way, today is competing in League of Legends in the other room.
Nice.
So I don't know how much you can hear him in the background because he's. Can you hear him in the background?
I can't hear him at all.
Good. Okay. I don't know how much it's
He's not.
picking up.
Is he like cursing up a storm and everything?
No, but I do know he's wearing a headset. So, like me, I talk louder whenever I have a headset.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you're like, I know I've been recording with you lately. Which makes me kind of wonder before we start the next segment, I might go ahead and try to reposition my mic to where, because right now he's at a decent angle, so I might have to like sit like this for this segment. I think that'll work.
Well, you do whatever you want.
I will do whatever I want, Rowdy. All right, so this segment is going to be just like hardware discussion and stuff like that. I put some notes on there, man. We'll just kind of go wherever it goes. Do you want me to
Alrighty, man.
start and drive this one?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you wanted to. Yeah, you go ahead and start this one.
Okay.
All right.
Tell me if I'm coming in too hot, because I'm changing my mic positioning. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, you sound about the same. It's fine.
All right. Okay, let me get this. I was about to make a your mom joke, but I figured that was a bad idea. All right. Okay, I am ready when you are ready.
Let me hit record here.
Oh, I got to clap.
All right. Pulling up the notes. All right, you ready to clap?
Yes, sir.
And 1, 2, 3.
All right, guys, before we get started gathering some bonus points, hey, we've been streaming lately. Check it out over at twitch.tv/LamerGamersPodcast and see the recordings of our live streams, our live podcasts, and you could be watching it right now, actually, because we take them each week and we post them on YouTube by that next Friday. So, in this segment, we are going to take a closer look at the hardware and the highlighted features that Sony threw up on the screen while watching the reveal. That makes it sound very gross whenever I said it that way. I should have written it a different way because they didn't quite exactly vomit onto the screen these things, but they were definitely not focused on some of these things. Now, let's go ahead and start talking about how this thing looked. The PlayStation 5. What did you think about the style of this?
I was gonna say, right off the bat, I think that this system is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life, and I love it.
Okay, so I actually was kind of a fan of it. I am known for liking ugly things, and sometimes it's been a discussion between my wife and I. Like, if I like the way something looks and she hasn't seen it yet, especially vehicles, she's like, "But is it ugly?"
Right?
So now I will say, just kind of getting a little nerdy with this, both of the systems are really adhering to what's called a brutalist style, or something close to it. It's a style that came out in the 50s in Great Britain, basically after World War II. That they were usually focusing on minimalism in the design and tended to show a lot of the materials in it, and really the structural elements over decorative design. If you look at both of these systems, I mean, one's a freaking box, and the other
Yep.
one is kind of showing the innards of it. You can see it kind of flared out and really focusing on those fans. Often, these brutalist designs use what are called forbidden geometric structures. There is some weirdness to these designs on the both of these consoles that you would not expect. Now, I do have to say though, as far as the design goes, my biggest disappointment is it is not like the dev kit. I actually enjoyed the dev kit design because I wanted to warm pizza in the center of it.
Yeah, man. I'm a little disappointed that I can't sit a slice of frozen pizza on there and then like play a game for 30 minutes and then eat said slice of pizza. And
Exactly.
then put another slice on there, play for 30 more minutes for my marathon gaming sessions. But I don't know which one I would prefer more. The melted goodness of what it is now, the pug of a system, or the dev kit pizza warmer, man. I don't know where the hell I'm going to put this thing
Now,
because can it be placed on its side? Most likely, yes, because every PlayStation since the PlayStation 2 has been built to either stand up or lay flat. So most likely it will. But if you look at um, the one that has a disk drive, it looks like where the logo is on the top of it, if you were to lay it down, that the disk drive would be on the very bottom of the console. And I'm not 100% sure if I was looking at it right, and that's the way it would lay over. I'm hoping it does lay over because I lay all of my systems on their sides. I do not like them standing up like behind my TV or anything in front of the TV. I've never liked standing consoles.
so you can see on the design where when you're looking at it vertically, it kind of flares out towards the top, right?
Hmm.
And there have been some recent leaks on the PlayStation 5 and how it moves air over two main components. So you have on one side where that flare would be, you would have air passing over the power supply. And on the other side, you would have air that is passing over the GPU, the CPU, and all the other stuff. So that is really curious if it will be able to sit on its side because I would feel like you need the side of the system to dissipate a little bit of that heat if it's plastic out there. That's going to be a really weird one because I feel like this console is going to be playing a lot of tricks with air movement. You know, where the Xbox, I mean, it's shooting air up like with a fan that you could put on the back of a boat and fly across the swamps with, you know.
That's true.
But the PlayStation 5, I mean, there's different leaks as far as the specs. I'm sorry, not the specs. The patents go that show anywhere from 2 to 6 fans in this thing, whereas the Series X is just one huge fan. It's interesting. It might be a little over designed in a sense for something that ugly. But I have some questions. How tall is this thing if it is standing vertically? Like, we don't have, I guess we could compare images to the controller itself because we'd have a basic idea of the controller, right?
Yeah.
So we can get an idea of that here in just a minute. But I'm really concerned. Like, this, a lot of people have said this looks like a Wii that's just wobbly. It almost looks like they took a heat gun to warp the plastic, or like a hair dryer, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
you could see the insides of it. You know, that's why I was saying it looks brutalist because it's showing the interior structure. Very interesting. Now, we do have a listener comment. Fried Shoes from GW just says the design is bad. It looks like a Chinese Wi-Fi router, a melted Wii, or a Roach Mattel, etc., etc. What do you think about
Dude, if you work at GameStop, you
that?
know that every console could be a Roach Motel. I've heard some absolute horror stories
That
about what
is
people have
true.
brought in to try and trade in at GameStop.
Oh
Uh,
man. By the
but
way, if looking
so,
at the pictures of the PlayStation 5 next to the controller scares me.
dude, I still hate the color scheme. Ugh.
Oh man. So if it's at least one, two, probably 2.5 to 3 times the height of the controller. Just judging by this picture.
Are
That's a
those controllers
tall.
zoomed in though?
No, it looks like it's on the same level or very close to the front of it.
Okay.
So that's a little concerning to me. We'll see. I mean, it's honestly probably going to be about the same height as the Xbox. So maybe it will be a problem. Maybe it won't. I'm just really concerned because you said it looks like there's a section that you could lay it on its side, but man, this thing is very rounded on the side.
Dude, I'm gonna be so angry if I can't put it on its side. You have no idea. I will riot. I just oh
Yeah.
I need to be able to lay it on its side. Like the way that my entertainment center's set up, like I have everything. I try to hide everything as much as possible, lay it on their sides, stuff like that. But if I have to stand this thing up, I'm gonna have nowhere to put it. It's gonna have to stand behind my TV, and
Okay.
I don't want that.
While we're talking, yes, the PS5 can be placed on its side.
Good.
Oh man, it's still ugly on its side though.
Yeah.
It looks like a taco, like a soft taco is eating a router.
Oh
But yeah,
man.
it can be placed on
Yeah.
its side with the DVD flat. This is according to pushquare.com, where they actually have some image of this in the showing the promotional material. Oh man, that is one ugly console, man. I like ugly, but oof. All right.
Dude.
Speaking of which, there are two versions of this console. If you don't know this, there is going to be the 4K UHD Blu-ray version, if you don't have a 4K Blu-ray player, or an all-digital player. So, I am. If I get the PlayStation 5, I will probably skip the Blu-ray version because I plan on getting a Series X, which will have the 4K UHD Blu-ray in it already. That will be a nice way to save a little bit of money on this console, I'm assuming.
So since this would be my primary console,
Mm-hmm.
I would get the one with the disc drive, just because I know I play everything digital and I pre-order everything digital, but every once in a while there'll be a sale on Amazon for a game that I missed when it came out that's dirt cheap, but only the physical version is that cheap. So that's why I'm going to get the one that has the UHD Blu-ray disc drive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, if the Series X has an all digital version, I would probably do that,
That
just
is,
because that's what I've done with my current Xbox. Just because it's not my primary console, I mainly use it for Game Pass.
you do have a good point. You can get cheap games in disc format.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's going to be an interesting balance. Like if let's say it's $100 cheaper, in the end,
Ooh,
you could save probably more money getting games on disc if you know where to buy them.
true.
And we'll go ahead and talk about there is no official price yet. However, there is a rumored price of $5.99 in pounds, according to Amazon UK's placeholder. Screw up. Apparently,
Dude.
there is a website that was the PlayStation 5 was accidentally listed as $599.99. We're not sure which version that is. Somebody actually was able to pre-order it. It said, but didn't you say Sony already came out and said like, nah, fam, that didn't happen?
Yeah, Sony has
See
come out and
it.
said that that is fake, but at the same time, dude, 5.99 British sterling pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That at the depending on the exchange rate, that's gonna be because for every pound you would add 50 cents.
Um,
So at 6.99.99, that would push the console to what?
five
God,
ninety
over
nine
800.
ninety nine. That would actually just did the math. $753.33.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now that is with current dollar fluctuation. As you know, there have been certain things going on with manufacturing and a lot of stuff going on with the gobbles. If you don't know what we're talking
Yes.
about when we say the gobbles, that is our code word for bad things happening with little tiny things that go in your body and make you sick. So, because we can't say the other word or we are not shown anywhere. But, so that's a big difference. Are we about to see a $750 console?
So I would like to point out, um, this was a very dark day in Sony's past. But when the PlayStation 3 came out, the original PlayStation 3, I would also like to point out that I think it was only like an 80 gigabyte console as well. It was $600 because not only did it have a PlayStation 3 in it, but it also had a full PlayStation 2 in it so that they could make it backwards compatible for PlayStation 2 as well as PlayStation 1 games. So by the time I had bought a PlayStation 3, because my Xbox 360 red ringed and I sent it back to Microsoft and it came back and it was crap, I traded it in and got a PS3. By the time I got my PS3, it was down to I want to say $300, so like half the price. But it did not have backwards compatibility for PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 because they took the PlayStation 2 out of it to save money. So, would it surprise me if this console is above $650? No, it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
I could see that. So I guess we'll go ahead and move on to what is actually showcased at this event and what they kind of threw across the screen and how is it going to compare to the Xbox Series X. Now, this is, of course, all going to be based on what we know now. Okay, so none of this is going to necessarily be fact or factual. It's going to be opinion, and I'm going to say definitively that Rowdy is wrong. No, I'm completely joking. I'm probably going to be wrong quite a lot. But first up, they did throw across the screen ray tracing. Now, of course, it's going to have ray tracing, right? They've said this before. I think they added this in here because the Xbox Series X is really pushing it because they have a specific unit inside the Series X to focus on ray tracing. My question is, did they also create something that is just for ray tracing to be added in this? Because they showcased it in a couple games.
Yeah. So when ray tracing first came out, I actually thought that it was like a trademark term that was
Mm-hmm.
only used by what's their name, Nvidia. But both of these consoles have a custom AMD processor. I'm sorry. It's not the processor that does the ray tracing. They have custom uh,
They have GPUs that
GPUs.
are capable of ray tracing,
Yeah.
but the difference is the Series X has a specific added piece of hardware that does the computations for the ray tracing. So it offloads it from the GPU, so it doesn't have to work as hard when there's ray tracing in the video game.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and that's been a question that we've asked in the past, or at least I have, as far as, you know, the PlayStation 5 with that Unreal Engine 5 demo really focused on global illumination, which honestly is usually good enough. Okay. I did notice, you'll notice I made some notes about some of the games we saw, and I said, okay, well, where are the cast shadows? Or why are they not being showcased? The ray tracing is extremely good at showing cast shadows very realistically. Global illumination, not always. It really depends. So we'll see if I think they're going to just do it in little bits of it, and that's what a lot of things are going to do. Because they said the ray tracing was going to be on Clank, right? Clank's the
Yeah.
robot, isn't he? Um,
Yep.
Ray tracing is very effective for reflecting light, scattering light, and showing reflections, which makes perfect sense on a shiny metal robot. So I think we'll see it in pieces. I don't think we're going to see like broad game, like everything is ray traced in a game. I think you'll see more of that on the Series X, but I don't think people are really going to care, to be honest.
Yeah. So I was going to point out, like, I know that I have a Sony bias. and that's never gonna change. But I do feel like there are gonna be some shortcomings with this console, because it feels like they want to focus more on load times
Yeah.
than actual graphics.
I
So
I
I
really think
think,
they're pushing that hard too. Like that is what
yeah.
we've heard all about since the UE5 demo.
So this system will probably push 4K most likely, but it probably won't try to push 8K like Microsoft has been talking about.
I don't even think
Uh,
they can do that though.
well,
They'll
I
be
mean, they
able to do it, but the games won't be worth it.
yeah, well, I mean, they've been talking about how they want to try and push 8K at 120 frames, which would be amazing to pull off.
Yeah, if the games
But
look
yeah,
like that Silicon Valley game on Nintendo 64, maybe.
d- so God, I wish I would have saved the quote because I don't remember who it was from. But there was a game developer who was actually talking about the difference between the two consoles, or developing for the two consoles. Um, whereas Xbox would have to do some more creative loading screens to hide it.
Yeah.
uh, PlayStation wouldn't look as good as the Xbox version. So he said that some companies may have to go as far as say in the Xbox version have a quick elevator scene that wouldn't be present in the PlayStation version. So it's going to be really interesting to see the difference between them. We're probably going to talk a lot about Digital Foundry when these systems come
Yeah.
out.
Now I will say the going back again to Ratchet and Clank, that had the most important thing to look at when you're talking about loading times. Whenever you see the characters jump from one world to another, there is about a 2 to 3 second uh, pause essentially in the action where you see them falling into space, then the world opens up. That is the loading time. It doesn't appear
See,
like it's loading.
I thought most of that was just a cinematic scene. I didn't think they were controlling it right there until it got to the
Yeah.
point where he was shooting.
And that's a good way to hide it. Now the thing is, the PlayStation 5 is double the amount of speed for loading things into the system, right? So, the Xbox Series X version, you would be able to assume to double the loading time in that sequence. So instead of the character falling for 3 seconds, they might fall 5 to 6 seconds before that transition. I still
Yeah.
don't find it to be that disruptive and that big of a game changer in my mind. Whenever you talk about it in that sense, you know what I'm saying?
You say that, but when you see my PlayStation's load times,
Oh, I know. I'm gonna be
you
jealous.
you're gonna be
Now
jealous.
there is a good video that shows the backwards compatibility of the Xbox Series X in their load time and how they do things. So they show the
Yeah.
Division 2, and there's a video from probably a couple months ago, and they show the load time on the Series X versus the One X. So it was, I believe, 8 seconds to load the game. Now this is not a Series X made game. It's not made for the NVMe, right? Okay. It
Yeah.
took 8 seconds to load that game. It took 51 seconds on the One X. So
No.
yeah, go look it up. It's a video. We were actually talking about it yesterday in the Game Witness room, and I brought that up because
I mean, I know I'm not a big Microsoft fan, but that sounds ridiculous. I
yeah.
think they could do better than that.
I mean, some of these games. I mean, Borderlands 3, man, I got it on the One X, and that takes forever. I mean, it takes about a
Well,
minute almost.
um, what was I gonna say? Sony. You know, when they were
Hmm.
talking about trying to improve load times and stuff,
Hmm.
uh, they took. Okay, it's a first party game.
Yeah.
It's not something like Borderlands or Division or something like that.
Right.
They took Spider Man for the PS4 and we're comparing the load times. And I don't remember the exact times, but the PS5 one was a fraction of the PS4 one.
Right.
So, I mean, dude, the Xbox has got to load. I mean, it probably just needs to be, I don't know, optimized.
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
well, they both actually rewrote the entire IO engine, which deals with how it fetches data. Sony
Okay,
just rewrote it in a much faster way, to be honest. Which, I mean,
gotcha.
by faster way, we're also talking a matter of seconds here, not
Yeah,
a matter of 10 seconds. We're talking a matter of seconds. So it's a definite selling point. I don't think it's that huge of a selling point, though.
because you're not a Sony fan.
Exactly. Like to me, I'm looking at ray tracing, but that's also the art nerd in me that actually looks at those kind of things and appreciates realism in certain areas with lighting. But that's also
Yeah.
because I obsess over it whenever I draw, right? And whenever I'm
Yeah.
doing a higher level drawing, not necessarily the stuff that I put out for advertising. Don't look at that stuff. That's
Yeah.
quick. But anyway, that's going to be interesting. I think this did answer some questions. I think they showcased a very good look at what to expect. It was hidden very well, but it's still there. It's not like
Yeah.
immediate. There is load time. You just got to look for it. Very smart
Oh yeah.
choice. Next thing on this list we have adaptive triggers. They put
I'm
on the
not
screen.
super excited about this, but it sounds cool.
I kind of like the idea of it. Adaptive triggers being there's either an increase in resistance or they push back, like they
Yeah.
poke you, which would be kind of cool if like your character picks up something and it moves in their hand. Maybe it could move the triggers back and trick your brain with the haptic feel, and that's really something they're focusing on is this haptic feedback, right? But
Well, the only things I've heard, the way that they described the haptic feedback for it was for racing games,
mm-hmm,
where they would try and put the accelerator and the brake on the triggers,
mm-hmm,
to whereas when you are, let's say you're trying to brake, so you're braking on a smooth surface and then you go onto rock. So in real life, when you brake on rocks, your brake pedal pushes back on you.
right.
So that's what they would try to do with that left trigger. So also they were talking about when somebody uses a bow, probably in Horizon Forbidden West, when you use the trigger to pull back on the bow, you get more resistance on the trigger as you pull it down, like you would when you're trying to pull back on a bow. Uh, so, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot that they could do with it, but those are the only two instances I've heard of them trying to use it right now.
So here's my concern with it. I really like the concept of it. I do have some questions on how this works long term with wear, because if something's kicking back at you, that's either a motor or it's some sort of mechanism that can push back, right? Um,
Yep.
well, you're talking in the, having taken apart controllers before, you can only fit hardware in there that's probably a couple of grams, unless you design like steel bars in there or some sort of way to put this in. It would make the controller very heavy. But the just random stat, okay, the average right-handed grip of a dude is 121 pounds. At what point, how much pressure do you put on this controller if it's pushing back to you and you're really into a game and you're driving and you break it? Like how much can it actually force back in pressure against your finger before this would break? And if you only
Well,
have, a
you're probably
couple,
going to crash your car.
yeah, that is true. But if you only have a couple of grams of metal or whatever you can in there, I'm wondering what the strength of it would be. I'm thinking of the what are the YouTube videos where the guy crushes things with a the press
The hydraulic press channel.
Yes, I think that would be an interesting thing to look into. Now, I'm sure that they have also looked into this, right? There are
Hopefully.
lots of companies that spend a lot of time figuring out the pressure with this, but that would be my only like concern. I still really want that technology though, but
Yeah.
nothing is strong enough to survive a younger brother or an older brother swinging it around like a nunchuck and smacking each other with it. That's the
Yeah.
real test. So we'll see if it can survive that. Speaking of cords, there's a USB port on this. That was something they put across the screen. I guess that was just so they could focus on the fact that it has a rechargeable battery.
Yeah, so all the PlayStation controllers from PlayStation 3 onward have had batteries in them that could be recharged, and this one thankfully goes to a USB-C on the controller. Now, I didn't see the USB drives on the actual system just because I saw the system and I looked away because it was so ugly.
Yeah. It was bright. I couldn't stare at it any longer. Okay, looking at the bottom of the Xbox Series X controller, there is a connection port. I don't know if it's USB, USB-C in general, but it does make me wonder, is there going to be like attachments with the PlayStation 5? I mean, they're already making it look like a crazy looking Wii that's melting. I mean, why not just go ahead and keep on add a nunchuck?
So on the PlayStation 5 right now, or the PlayStation 5 controller right now, the DualSense controller,
Yeah.
on the top of the controller is where you have the USB-C where it goes in. So on the bottom of it, it looks a lot like the PS4, where you have like the headphone microphone jack, but next to those is I don't know 100% what that's called. That's right next to the headphone jack, or at least on the PlayStation 4 controller. Right next to the headphone jack is another slot that I have no idea what goes in, but I have seen it's like a little keyboard that you could connect to the bottom of your PlayStation 4 controller for texting or typing stuff in game. So I think that is what this will probably be for that attachment.
Now, I'm seeing here that the Series X does feature a USB-C port also.
It better.
Yeah, so are we going to see the battle of the dongles? Who has the best attachments for your Xbox?
Dude, everything better go USB-C from here on out.
Yeah. I think it's going to. I mean, the Switch is USB-C also. And
Oh, yeah.
that thing's a toaster. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So the next thing with the controller is the thing that I'm most excited about. Gyro.
And the thing I'm least excited about.
Man, I'm going to have to look up later on because I know Doom for the Switch uses the gyro controls, but I'm curious if the PlayStation version uses them. Because
I mean, I've never used it if it does. Well, I mean, for the PS4, but the only time I've used motion controls for the PS4 was for Infamous Second Son. And in that one, you get to a point in the game where you have to turn your controller sideways and hold it like it is a spray paint can, and pull one of the triggers, and the speaker on the controller makes it sound like an aerosol can, like you're actually spraying paint, and you actually have to move the controller back and forth like you're painting across a stencil. That is literally the only time I can remember using the motion controls for the PS4, and on the PS3, the only time I can remember it was throwing grenades during Uncharted. So they've had the gyro controls. I just don't know. Maybe I've turned it off in the main settings to like never use them because I hate them.
I did look up, and Doom does not use the gyro controls on the PlayStation 4. And people are
Good.
really
Nobody's used
upset
them.
about it because of the lack of controller functions, even though it's on the Switch. To me, that's a big selling point. Like, if there were games that actually use that in shooters specifically, I would be all for it, man. I like the extra little bit of sensitivity it gives to shooting games. Like, I'm playing Borderlands 3 right now, and it does a really good job at the kind of snap to aim where it helps you. I don't need the help. I don't need you holding my hand as zombie monsters come and try to kill me. I want to take care of this myself. So
I do need the help.
Okay, well, yeah, I might need the help occasionally. Actually, I've been playing that co-op. We'll have to talk about that next episode. I've enjoyed that co-op. But I don't know, man. It's just an extra little bit that I really appreciate in games. It makes it feel more real to me in a way. All right. next up, they both have a headset jack. Woo! Was this a surprise?
No.
Okay. Next one, 3D audio. So they spend a lot of time talking about this. They have a specific processor just for sound, and it was to the extent to where I saw a lot of people talking about, oh well, the PlayStation 5 is going to be able to offload so much in the GPU because they have a special module just for sound. Well, the Series X has a module just for sound too. It's just going to be using different formulas or formats for this.
The Series X has a module
Yeah,
too.
you got modules, but I don't see this. I do think the concept of forming it to your ear and how you hear is going to be very interesting. Especially if you have good headphones. Like the headphones I'm using right now do work with Dolby Atmos, and I can tell a difference on things like that, on games with that. But the way they're doing it is it will pinpoint different sounds you can and can't hear and kind of adjust it to you, which might be helpful for people with hearing loss. Because if there's certain tones you can't hear, will the game adjust and make it to where you can understand things a little bit better? Because I know, kind of weird old story. I busted my right eardrum whenever I was in high school powerlifting. I had an ear infection, went up with a power clean, clenched, pop, insane pain all over, and I collapsed. So since then, though, certain noises make a buzzed speaker sound, like a broken speaker in my head. So I'm wondering if that will help somebody like me that has some hearing loss on certain tones.
Damn you, tinnitus.
I know, right?
Ma, ma, ma.
What is this from? I do not know of this.
It's an Archer joke.
Ah.
Did you notice in that presentation? Did you see the Sony headphones?
I did not. Were they selling specialized PlayStation 5 headphones?
Oh yeah,
I saw somebody post some images of them.
They have the same color scheme as the console itself, so I guarantee you that those headphones will be the best-selling headphones for that console. They'll be crap for everything else.
I bet you
but
they're gonna be
they'll
at
sound
least
great.
$200 too,
Probably.
or 150. If they're gonna try to do this high-level sound stuff, they're gonna have to be pricey.
Well, because Sony has had some first-party headphones that they've used in the past, and then there's an app that you could use with those first-party headphones, where you could have specific EQ settings for certain games. So you go into the app and you load up the setting for, say, like The Last of Us. So then you set your headphones to The Last of Us settings, and it is EQ'd specifically for that game.
Yeah.
So there'd probably be a way more in-depth version of it with these headphones.
Yeah, so that's going to definitely be curious for that, or interesting for that. Now, we're down to like the last section of this, and this is just going to kind of be an overall discussion on which one appears better at this moment. Now, this could all change. So, between the two systems, what do you think so far has the better hardware in your mind?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
PlayStation's
matter.
gonna be so fast.
It's going so fast, that SSD.
It's gonna be so fast.
I mean,
It's gonna be so fast. You're gonna wish it wasn't so fast.
I still think that the Xbox Series X is going to be more powerful. I've seen speed versus power. Has been the big thing. I've also think they've been a little more open with what's inside of it. I mean, literally, people have taken them apart and put them back together. Whenever you're hiding so much of the internals, that is curious to me. Now, also, that's probably smart at the same time, because we did report on an article a while back that the Xbox One had its source code stolen from the GPU, and I think there was an NVIDIA card that had its code stolen that was also going to be possibly used for different systems. So,
God.
you do have to keep your mouth shut a little bit with these, but they've been very open with what's inside of it. I think it's going to definitely be the stronger system. But I don't think it's going to matter that much to most people. I still think Sony's going to hit that 1440p, that 2K 60 frames a second is going to be where they really are going to stop, like be showcasing things, and then 4K at 30 frames per second. Um, if you look at current systems that try to run 4K at 60 frames per second, they still struggle with really, really expensive systems. I personally don't think the Series X is going to be 8K 120 frames per second. I think that's silly. Unless the games are massively scaled down. Like maybe if you're playing Team Fortress 2 or Fortnite, maybe. But
No, man, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play the original disc version of Halo One, and it's gonna be 120 frames a second, 8K.
actually, that would probably be something they could do because of the backwards compatibility with it and the way that they're doing things. So that actually probably will happen, Rowdy. Like I said, it would have to be an old school looking game that they could run at 8K 120 frames per second because they have talked about doubling frame rates as a big push on the Series X. And
If
doesn't
you,
Halo run at
if
60?
oh, I mean, I don't know about the original
Yeah.
one. The original one ran at potato.
And
Uh,
it caught the
no,
system
but
on fire.
if you were to take Halo One and make it and upres it to 8K at 120 frames per second, that would be like shooting a turd out of a musket.
People would love it though. It would be, I guess, entertaining. Uh, but it would add HDR to it, which is interesting. All right,
That
next
is
up,
true.
new games. To me, in my mind, I think Sony wins this one all day. I don't
They
think
just
we have seen enough of the Series X games.
Sony has more just established what is it? Established series right now.
Yeah.
Um,
But they're also
but we'll
creating
see.
it just for the system. All these Series X
Yeah,
games are on the One X also, or on the One.
gotcha.
You know, but we haven't seen their real big first party games either.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of Halo.
I mean, we haven't really seen much gameplay. They screwed up big time whenever they show that. And that's
Yeah,
another thing too. I mean, this debut and the UE5 demo were leaps and bounds above what Xbox Series X did with showcasing their games. I mean, that last one pulled a Stadia where they overpromised and underdelivered. This I thought was good. I do kind of wish we got some numbers on what it's really
yeah.
showing because I just saw a bunch of blocks on the screen because of the stupid stream, but there were
Oh my
games.
God, it's so awful.
And they showed load time, and that's really what they've been focusing on, man. Uh,
Freaking YouTube.
Now, next one, backwards compatibility. I still think Xbox wins that, but does it have enhanced GTA 5 that is expanded?
Christ.
I don't think
You know
so.
what? I want to point out real quick. I never heard them say GTA 5 was enhanced for the PlayStation 5. I just heard GTA 5 was coming to it.
No, they did say enhanced and expanded
Enhanced?
towards the end of it.
Okay.
So they're going to
Okay.
add some stuff to it. It's going to be focused for online, but honestly, though, the Series X is going to win this one all day and night too, because they have systems that actively improve your games and put them in rose-colored glasses mode, where everything's a little bit better. It adds HDR, it ups the frame rates, it ups the resolution, and it's built in. It's not they don't have to reprogram it, and they started a lot of this groundwork in the One X. So I think that is going to be a big hit, and maybe that's also why they're still making games that are going to be on the One X too, because they hope that people will eventually move up. I mean, I'm selling my One X day one and buying a Series X because everything comes with it.
The
You know?
yeah.
Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Uh, I don't know, man. They haven't really talked too much about backwards compatibility for PS4. Like I know we've seen where it says that 2,000 older games will be available, but at launch only 100 of the top PS4 games will be backwards compatible, and that's kind of vague because, like I said in one of the last podcasts, is that are they just saying the top 100 games for PS4 are going to be backwards compatible because that's the only ones they've tested, so they don't want to put themselves in any kind of legal hot water
Mm-hmm.
by saying, "Oh, this game is," when said company hasn't checked to see if it is on the new console. I'm hoping it's all backwards compatible, but at the same time, I really only have a few physical PlayStation 3 discs left over, and most of my PlayStation 4 library is digital. So it would really only need to be backwards compatible if I were to, say, buy said old games.
Now,
Um,
would you be able to throw in a PS2 or PS1 disc into the system? That's a question that
exactly.
I have. I hope so. I would imagine, right?
I mean, I doubt it right now, just because they haven't done um, physical backwards compatibility since PlayStation 3.
Right.
I
And
don't. I'm not. Ooh, man,
that's
don't
gonna be
quote
a
me on that.
question for me because if I get a PlayStation 5, I am a latecomer to the PlayStation, and I would want them cheap games.
Well, I guarantee you, all the games that I've said you need to play are going to be backwards
Oh yeah, yeah,
compatible.
absolutely.
I mean, like Last of Us and Horizon, the Uncharted series. Those are for sure going to be backwards compatible. Um, but don't quote me on that backwards compatibility for the PS4 because I don't think I've ever checked. Now that I think about
All
it.
right. Next topic. Who wins the design?
Oh God,
Nobody
nobody.
wins. Now I will have to say, I think the for people who enjoy putting stickers and skins on things or cases, the Xbox Series X wins because I mean, I'm just thinking as an artist, if I created a vinyl design that could just be popped onto there, you could design your system however you want it. There is a lot of visible real estate on that system because of its extremely simple form factor. And you look at what people do already for putting skins on the back of phones or put on, I don't know, on laptops and things like that. D brand and all these other companies are going to make bank off of this. And you could really design it however you want because it's a blank canvas. That being
But
said, it's
as
simple.
an artist, you should be way more excited about that Salvador Dali esque PlayStation 5.
I don't even know if that's Salvador Dali, Rowdy.
I don't know artist, man. I'm just throwing an artist name out there.
Oh man, that thing. I guess. I mean, it kind of looks
Okay,
like a roach that's being eaten by an eggshell that's warping into space-time continuum somehow. Maybe.
so
I guess that could work.
MC the MC Escher designed console.
Probably a little not geometric enough. Uh, but I get what you're saying. It is definitely. Man, that thing is ugly. And on the side, did you look at that picture that I linked in the Twitch chat? Oh my
No.
goodness. Click it, Rowdy. Click it.
Hang on.
And
Hang on.
see how ugly that is going to be on its side. It
No,
doesn't.
I like it. I like it on its side.
Oh,
I mean,
I.
it's still
It
ugly as hell.
looks like a seashell that you would see, like, just eating a router. It's so bad.
Dude, yeah, it's still ugly as hell, but I like it way better sitting
Yeah.
on its side than standing up. Ugh.
Oh, but yeah, I still think these are the ugliest systems we've seen in a while. I think the Switch is sadly the most aesthetically pleasing system out of all of these in this
Yeah.
generation.
Uh, I just don't set it. I just don't set my Switch on my entertainment center. It sits on my computer desk next to it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They're both ugly, but I mean, it's time for something new, I guess.
Yeah.
Now we do know for a fact the PlayStation 5 is the official system of cats. We have seen at least 3 cats in today's reveal. So
There were a lot of cats.
there were a lot of cats. When is Elon Musk designing a console? Skylar asked in the chat.
Oh
That's a good
God.
question. I would much rather see a Tesla design thing. They actually make good designs. I like the Cybertruck. I do like ugly things.
The PlayStation 5 is the Cybertruck of consoles.
The problem with the PlayStation 5 to me is it adds in this weird, almost organic curve to make it look like it's something alive wrapping around something. It's a weird combination to me, man. I don't like it. I don't like it. All right. That's all I really got for today, man. What do y'all think out there in that's listening to the podcast? Do you like the design? Do you like the games that they're showing? What do you want to see? Let us know on Twitter at LamerGamersCast, or hop by next week whenever we're back in Twitch, and we will be talking about. Actually, I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week. I think just talking about. Yeah, we'll see if Rowdy's off work, man. How's your work week looking next week? Insane?
I actually don't know next week because I might have to go in for some training, and then if I get the training, then I will be in a different position than where I am now. But if I don't get the training, I'll be doing the same thing that I'm doing now. So the question is, I don't know.
You'll be switching from tiger position to crane, I guess. Yeah,
pretty
fighting
much.
like Rowdy's a kung fu warrior in the medical world. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Thank y'all for listening. Rowdy, you got anything else for these fine, lovely people that are listening to the show?
No, man, that's it for me.
All right, guys, thank y'all for listening to this special side quest edition of the Lamer Gamers podcast, where we talked about the PlayStation 5 reveal, and we will see y'all next week. Have a good one.
Hey, stop recording.
Yeah. All right, we're still in Twitch. Hey, people, thanks for dropping by the Twitch. We have some new people. Astrutralist, that's a cool name. So I appreciate y'all hopping in. Kind of a last moment or last second kind of announcement for this show. So it was cool to actually have some people hanging around.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was going to be able to record today or not.
Yeah, today was kind of iffy. Rowdy has worked way too much lately. So
yeah.
And I have been a lazy
I was
bum.
supposed to work on Saturday, but they canceled that shift. So for about 15 seconds, I was upset about losing some hours, but only 15 seconds. Then I was absolutely ecstatic because I realized I didn't have to work a 15-hour shift.
Yeah, that's a tough shift, man. Ugh.
Dude, it's easy money, but it's boring money.
Yeah, that's I guess part of. Yeah, my dad used to be a process operator, and working those, those kind of jobs. They're so long, but it's like you got to be there just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much, I guess, money being made in a sense. It's worth it to keep you scheduled. So.
Oh yeah.
So jobs are picking up out there. It sounds like I've heard some good things in general about industry.
It all depends on what oil does.
Yeah. Having some family that works in the oil industry, it sounds like things are possibly going to be picking back up. So hopefully, because if you know anything about our area, it is what keeps this area alive, to be honest.
Chemical plants as far as the eye can see.
Yep, and sometimes they go pop. Oh!
Yeah, I worked at that one the other day.
Yeah, and they sounded the alarm. Weren't you telling me that?
Dude, I almost peed myself.
I bet. Ugh.
Dude.
Yeah, if y'all ever listen, Rowdy had a Rowdy's Ruckus rants over trying to play Dragon Quest while the TPC plant exploded. It's messed up, man.
Twice.
Ugh. All right, I think I'm going to end the stream, and we will see you guys next week. We'll try to have this again.
You guys have a good one.